Welcome to another episode of the Well Seasoned Librarian. This is season 13, episode 1. Today I'm very, very happy to be talking to Mike Slater again. Number one, because I always end up cracking up and laughing whenever I talk to him and his friends from Red Duke Games. They're just a great bunch of guys, and they put out something that I really, really love. A few years back, they came out with the Necronomnomnom, which is a cookbook inspired by the writings of H.P. Lovecraft. And it was just like, when I heard about it, I was just like, that is the perfection of everything that I love, because I'm a big H.P. Lovecraft or Lovecraftiana fan, and I love cooking, so this is just right up my alley. And then the following year, they followed up this hit, and it was a really big hit, with LoveCraft Cocktails, elixirs and libations from the H.P. Lovecraft mythos. That did very well as well. And now they have a brand new book, the Necromunchicon, which is unspeakable snacks and terrifying treats from the lore of H.P. Lovecraft. And this book does not disappoint. It is also really quite excellent. And just another great product from these guys. It also features the impeccable work of Kurt Komoda, who has illustrated all of these books and just such a great, great job. Manages to make everything very macabre and also very fun at the same time. Just perfection. I really love talking to Mike. He is the head of, or one of the heads of Red Duke Games, and they do a lot of different games, role-playing games and stuff, and they're a really great company, and they make all kinds of great, great, cool things. I know they've also talked about, they put out a couple teas that are influenced by the H.P. Lovecraft mythos, and they have something else which I'm going to let Mike talk about when we go into the interview. Without further ado, my conversation with Mike Slater of Red Duke Games to talk about the brand new book, The Necromunchicon. And here we go to the conversation right now. Welcome to the Well Seasoned Librarian Podcast. I'm your host, Dean Jones. I'm talking with Mike Slater today from Red Duke Games, and we've had him on the podcast in the past to talk about his wonderful cookbooks, and very much in time with the season right now. Of course, I'm referring to the Necronomnomnom and LoveCraft Cocktails that we've talked about in previous episodes that are really wonderful books that I really cherish having in my cookbook collection. So, Mike, thanks for being on the podcast.
Hey, thank you so much, Dean. It's great to be back. Really appreciate the invite.
After the success of the Necronomnomnom and LoveCraft Cocktails, you're back at it again with the Necromunchicon. I love the heading of the chapters: Sweet Madness, The Witching Sour, Our Lure and Savior, Salt and Battery, and The Bitter Blend. All great illustrations by the incomparable Kurt Komoda. What inspired you to do another cookbook?
So in the cookbook business, I guess, where you actually have books that are actively selling, and you want to continue to put things out, they need to be they need to not compete with your own product. So they have to be sort of a different category, a different flavor, so to speak. And so, we have ideas and ideas and ideas. And we have people that, we're very grateful that we don't want to submit recipes and, hey, can you use this somewhere? And, I thought you guys would like this. And we always want to do that sort of thing when the publisher asks. We're kind of like ready to go a lot of the time. Not all the art, not all the writing, of course, but for this one, we knew that part of what made the Necronomnomnom so successful was its use in parties, use for catering for your guests, and game day and things like that. So it's not just Halloween parties, but it's game day and things where you've got 6, 8, 10, 20, depending on how much you entertain people to feed. So we wanted to do something that really helped people make that easier, but also, unique and cool and different. Like, oh my God, what is this? I've never had that, or that looks terrible. It tastes awesome. What is it? So we had these very playful ideas, and then our editor, James J.O., who just is awesome. He had the idea to organize the book into the 5 tastes. And those are the sections that you mentioned. Thank you for picking up on that. That was an interesting challenge because, as you could well imagine, most snacks really fit into 1 or 2 categories, right? They're salty or savory. And so to go back and hit all 5 tastes sort of evenly, right? So that the sweet section isn't 17 recipes and, the bitter section is 3. To do that well and interestingly was a great challenge, and a lot of fun. So, we think we pulled it off, and the book is something that we're very proud of. It's had a great reaction so far. We came out on Tuesday, of course, and we debuted it in front of people at the Central PA Tattoo and Horror Convention just this past weekend. So Friday, we got to see what people thought of it in person, and we were really very gratified. So, yeah.
I love that this book. I mean, the first thing I do is go read the recipe titles, right? Because that's gonna be. I just laugh. Some of them make me laugh so hard, especially. Oh my God. The one that I really thought was hilarious was the Obed marshmallows. I mean, that just made me laugh. And you guys always do it, man. You always come up these great titles and everything. What I liked this time was that there's a story component to it that I didn't see in the previous ones that I really kind of thought was fun. What made you think of doing that?
So, we know what people have really liked about the previous 2 books, and we certainly want to include those elements, right? They're part of our secret sauce. We don't want to take that away from anybody by going in a completely different direction, but we also don't want to do the same thing each time, right? We want each book to be unique and uniquely appealing, both in the recipes and in the reading experience. So, Miguel Fliguer, who's one of my primary collaborators, and I are both writers. We write short fiction separately together. And we thought, hey, why don't we do a short story about each recipe, so that it's flash fiction. It's a recipe that can feed a whole bunch of people, that's new and different, and unique. And then, of course, you have Kurt's, incredible art. So you've got the visual aspect, the cognitive engagement of the story, and of course the gustatory elements of trying the recipe itself. So we really went for a whole entertainment package here between 2 covers.
I really, as I mentioned earlier, I love the titles. Any favorites out of the titles that really make you laugh?
The Obed marshmallows was, sort of once that idea occurred, was a must do, right? That's kind of like the gin and miskatonic from the first book. It's like, how do you not do this?
Yes.
The salmon witch tiles. I was like, oh, this is bad, and we're going to get in trouble, but it's funny and people will get it. And then the story sort of redeems it a bit. The Hounds and Tenderlopes was one that was like, okay, somebody's going to look at that and go, the Hounds of Tenderlopes is a snack. How does this work? I mean, they're like, you're asking me to like pick a favorite child here. That This is where the recipes start. 95% of the time is Mike thinks up some awful pun, and now we need food to go with it. Sometimes, as with like the Cultist Delights, for instance, Tom had this idea for a recipe that has been floating around since the Necronomnomnom. There was nowhere to put it in the nom. It didn't fit the categories. Like, what do we do with this? And then finally for this book, it was like, okay, you know what? This does fit in one of the sections in a place where we need it. Now I just need to come up with why. Like, why does it go in this book? And I didn't have a name for it yet. This is the only one that has gone exactly backwards from our usual process. It was recipe first, test recipe. Okay, recipe actually tastes really good. Good, check. All right, story. The story occurred to me next. I wrote that still without a name for this thing, and the story itself suggested what they are. and that's where cultists' delights came from.
Yeah, that was a good one.
In the story, there are these things that the cult leader needs to use for a ritual, and every time they make a batch, as they're transporting it to the ritual, the cultists are eating them because they're irresistible.
I love these.
Yeah. So you get where that goes. Yeah, that's a huge part of the fun for me.
Now, do you practice the recipes on your family? Do you like
God,
do these
yes.
at home?
Yes.
What's the reaction from the family when you're cooking some of these things?
So initially there was the trepidation that you would have from anybody, when you look at this and someone else tells you have one. Now they're much more trusting. They know what they're in for.
Yeah.
My daughter B is like the chief tester. I don't know if that means that she's the bravest or just the most devoted, to the process here, but she will try anything, with minimal encouragement. So if it goes past her in good order, I know I'm onto something, and if not, then I have some serious tweaking to do. But usually, we were a pretty good hit ratio off the bat.
Well, I want to mention this again because for people that are new to this and who are listening for the first time, I really want to emphasize. Now, I have cookbooks literally that are Halloween cookbooks or horror themed ones, where the aesthetic is more important than the taste. And in this case, you really have both because I really feel like everything you are cooking has to be delicious, and everything, nothing sounds bad. Everything sounds really good. So you do want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So the entire experience is very, very important to us. Always has been. Um, that's where Tom's genius comes in. Is okay. We've got this idea. We want it to look like this. May or may not get there, but I'm going to make it and have it taste the way that it should, and then it's going to be Mike iterating on, all right, how do we make it look the part? Um, it's it really has to work all the way around. And there are certainly some that are like, you read the ingredient list and you're like, that doesn't, I'm not sure about that. And all we ask is that, if you're adventurous enough, try it, because we certainly did. And we didn't try it just on ourselves and go, okay, that passes. As you mentioned, it's usually our families first. But we'll take test recipes to conventions and try them on dozens or hundreds of people. We are now catering the VIP dinner for Creature Feature Weekend, which is,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a horror convention that happens in Gettysburg. The next one is in April. The VIP ticket buys you a dinner catered by Mike and Tom out of the books. And this thing has grown every year. It's to a size now where we're like, okay, we are going to need help in April. like this is not something that the two of us can do by ourselves anymore. It hit 90 people last year. So that was we debuted the meatish sweet balls out of the Necromunchicon on people, and 300 meatballs vaporized in a matter of minutes. We were like,
I can imagine.
I mean, just it was unreal. So a lot of fun.
I can't talk about this book without mentioning the incomparable artwork of Kurt Komoda. You're so lucky to have him on all these works. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, we certainly are. Extremely lucky and blessed by Dark Powers to have him as our collaborator. He is responsible for the visual appeal and aspect of the book. He's incredible to work with. My art direction, if you can call it that, is really only ever needs to be minimal. Hey Kurt, looking for this type of thing, 2 sentences long, and then he pulls what I meant directly out of my brain across the 3 hours between us, and distance wise, and and just puts it on a page. And sometimes I know it doesn't work this way, but to me it seems like it happens so quickly, and I'm sure that on his side it's just hours of work. but he's amazing at it. And then there's a few places where it's like, hey, Kurt, here's what this thing looks like. Here's our awful photograph of it because we're not photographers and kind of, suck at it. So here's our iPhone pics. Do something with it, like the world's your oyster. I don't have a particular idea or theme for this one. And then he comes back with, this amazing thing out of his own head. And most of the time we don't leave him hanging like that. But when we do, he always comes through. He just comes through with this amazing stuff. So yes, very, very lucky and grateful to have him on the team.
I imagine you get a lot of feedback from the gamer fans and the horror fans that love these cookbooks as much as I do. Do you have any favorite comments or feedback from fans that love the series?
Oh, geez. Yes, and we appreciate everybody that comments. In the let's see, in the beginning of the new book, we actually print some of these, and don't have that directly in front of me.
I'm sorry.
But there's that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to speak in generalities. If you go to Amazon and you look at the comments, it's just one after another that are so gratifying. I love the ones that say, I gave this as a gift, and my husband, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, whatever, like disappeared into the other room, and all I heard was cackling, for the next couple of hours, and and they're reading a cookbook, which it's designed, to be that way. It's designed to be fun, even if you never cook a bite out of it. All of them are designed to be fun to look at and funny and provide the visual entertainment that we talked about a moment ago. But it's those comments, that someone was so entertained by our work, and that's what we want to do, right? I mean, all of our products, everything we do, we want to give people. It sounds hokey. We want to give them joy. Like life is what it is, outside of your playtime. Often enough, and we just need to like stop and laugh and just enjoy something that was designed, for you to enjoy, to make people happy for a bit. And we feel like every success we have at that is, our giving back to this little ball of mud spinning in the darkness.
I want to also mention that there is kind of I don't want to say spin-off, but there's a variant theme on the cookbooks. You have a beverage that you're selling. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah. So I am a bourbon and Scotch guy, or
Me too.
a Scotch and bourbon guy, I should say. Started with Scotch. Tom is a rum guy, and I like rum, but it was not my main thing. Yeah. When we did the Necronomnomnom, and we needed a rum for the Nog Sothoth recipe, or eggnog recipe. We wanted it to be a dark, heavily spiced rum, and there wasn't anything on the market that really fit the flavor profile that we were looking for, and mostly that guided by Tom. So I'm the mixologist of the two of us. Tom is the cook. I mean, like I can do a decent job now because I've had to learn. But Tom validates the recipes. He makes sure everything works. He comes up with the new ones when we need one, for the most part. But I'm the mixologist. So the mixture that I had kept coming up with to make the eggnog right, he was sampling and saying, this is great by itself. Like, I love this. This is my favorite rum now. And I'm like, Tom, I made this in my kitchen. He's like, I don't care. When can I get another batch? And that, so really it started with him. And then we would take the extra to conventions with us and like just sample it to people for a good 3 years. And the reaction was always the same. How do I get more of this? Like, where can I buy this? When's it in stores? And we had no intention of it ever being in stores until, I don't know, maybe the 50th person asked, and we looked at each other like, let's figure out how to get a rum in stores. And we went and did it. So it's our recipe, And Thistlefinch Distillery's expertise, they are out of Lancaster, PA, about half an hour from where I live, and they knocked it out of the park. So we got the test batch back, and we're like, yep, this is the right stuff. This is the exact flavor profile, but better. It's, it doesn't have a quarter inch of sediment in the bottom because I have no way of filtering out the spices that I used. It just is a finished product all the way around, done by professionals. So we said, yep, validated, print it, so to speak. And they called us back and said, all right, we're going to have a bottling party. You need to get some hands and arms and tentacles together and get down here to the distillery and put this stuff in bottles. And we did. We had 14 out of a dozen people invited show up and spend 3 hours making a 1,000-bottle run, which I am told by Thistlefinch is currently out selling their own whiskeys.
And wow, that's pretty good.
I said, guys, this is a good problem to have. Call me when we need another batch. So it will be in select PA liquor stores in February is the plan. Pennsylvania only has a couple of times a year when they let new products, into the stores, and they are one of the few states left with their own distribution system, their own state stores. It will be in Maryland Total Wine, both stores, much sooner, like a couple of weeks, we hope. It's been accepted to Total Wine as a franchise. So if you're in a state with a Total Wine, ask if you're interested. Ask them. I don't know how their network works, but if we can get it to them, or they can get it from their own stores, we'll figure that out. Is the goal. You can get it in the Reading Terminal Market, the famous Reading Terminal Market in Philadelphia.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So it's popped up in places, and there's a few venues here and there that are serving it as part of drinks. Our own mojito tip from the second book, LoveCraft Cocktails, is great. It makes it into a dark mojito, but it also takes out almost all of the work in making the drink, because then all you need is the club soda and the muddled mint and the rum, and you're done. Like it's a 3-part drink. It's so easy.
That sounds wonderful. I have a Total Wine near me. I think I'll make some recommendations for them. Maybe I'll get some out here.
That would be awesome.
Now, I would be remiss to not mention Red Duke Games. Can we talk a little bit about Red Duke Games for the listeners who may not have heard of it?
Yeah, we sure can. So we are a game company. We make cookbooks and rum and tea, and games. Yes,
I forgot about the tea.
Yeah. We have 2 varieties of tea out now: the Earl and Grey and Nyarlathotep. And you can get both of them off of our website. That we can ship anywhere. www.reddukegames.com. The books, the tea, and some of our other products are on there. Can't do the rum just yet, but we do actually make games, and this is going to be 2024. That is going to be, we hope, a big year for us in games. We've got 2 major projects that should hit shelves. One should hit Kickstarter, and we should have it hopefully finished by the end of 2024 and going out to people for fulfillment. The other is a shorter timeline. The 2 big games for next year are our Viking Death Duel game called Axes at Dawn. It's a head-to-head game where you take on the role of either a Viking warrior or shield maiden. There's 2 of each in the game. They have awesome character art by Joe Cara, who did all of the art for our card game, Azrael War of Heralds, which we describe as sort of like, it has, Magic the Gathering or Pokemon-like mechanics. So if you're familiar with how those work, this is a very easy game to pick up, but it is a more like a multi-person online battle arena. type game, but it's tabletop, and you use cards. So each player is drafting fantasy archetype characters, paladins, assassins, clerics, etc., against each other. But unlike certain other games, it's everything that you need to play for 2 players in the box, one price, no cards, cost $8,000. So it's got that going for it. But Axes at Dawn has premium pieces to it, right? So it's the game mats, it's the pieces, the dice, everything, and it's a lot of fun. It can be quick, it can be strategic. You can have it be over very quickly and just redo it and off you go again. It's portable, and the big project is our 5e world book for the D&D players out there. It is a 5e compatible new plane of existence. It is called Furthest Night Beyond the Outer Darkness, and it is literally a place that exists outside of the outer darkness. It is tenuously connected to the rest of the setting and universe, multiverse out there. Yes, it's you can bring anything you want into it, but it has its own character classes, its own races, unique monsters, certainly. A pantheon of 21 powers that they're called the Thrice Seven, and you have 7 powers of darkness, 7 powers of light, and the 7 unbound. And it being Furthest Night, I will let you guess which of those factions is ascendant. And so you can play it very dark, literally or figuratively, or both. And we have a lot of work into this already, way more than we need to just launch a Kickstarter. So we have some high hopes for this, and we think that people are going to have the right reaction and see. We've got a group of artists put together for this thing that fits the Red Duke Games quality model to a T. In fact, we have some folks on here that are our Magic the Gathering artists. They're comic book artists. Kurt, of course, in the project. Jokara. The art is just meant to be, jaw dropping, and so far so good. We're going to have some preview stuff up at reddukegames.com as soon as possible, and get the preview up on Kickstarter. So working hard on that.
Excellent. I imagine that Halloween is really fun at your house. You guys have a big blowout every Halloween?
Oh, yes. Yep. Halloween is like Christmas at our house. Yep. We are having the 22nd annual Slater Halloween party this year. Yep. Every year we have a theme for the party. At 22, the theme is Halloween itself. Because we don't want to repeat, and we're just going to see what happens. People are going to show up as jack-o'-lanterns, I guess.
I love it.
Yeah. It's and of course, the last many years we serve recipes out of the book, and the cocktail book actually has some of its genesis in the Halloween party, because I would come up with signature drinks based on the theme every year. For it, and that's where my mixology experience, such as it is, comes from. It's more like home taught chemistry, than anything else.
You guys did such a great job. It really is an exceptional drinks book as well, and it really kind of shows off your knowledge of alcohol, because there's a lot of really good stuff in there, and a lot of kind of stuff that people don't always know about. I think it's kind of worthy of building up your bar at home, kind of making a nice selection of stuff.
Yeah, it will certainly help you do that. We tried to keep most of it as accessible as possible, depending on where you are. And even the things that are difficult to get should be regionally easy enough to substitute, with something else. And drink recipes, I think, more than almost any other kind of recipe, are amenable to being altered to tastes, right? And, oh, look, I don't like If you're someone who just really doesn't like amaretto, for instance, there's got to be one or two of them out there somewhere. There are other things that you can put in instead that will still work. Will it be the exact same drink? No, but I'm not drinking it. You are. So enjoy it the way you like it.
I'm not a big fan of blue curacao, so I kind of tend to find substitutes for that.
Okay. And because in LoveCraft's writing, there are so many eldritch things that had a blue glow or a bluish glow. There is a bunch of that in the book, and it's not it wasn't a lack of creativity. It was okay, well, I wanted to have this kind of look, and so again, we're going to need a little bit of blue carousel for this one, and a very little bit or a whole bunch, depending on the look you're going for. So if that's not your thing, hey,
lots of other stuff.
There's lots of other stuff out there.
It's a lot. I mean, it's not a small book. There's quite a few recipes in there. It's a great beverage drinks book.
Thank you. There are 78 drink recipes in there. About half of them are variations on classics, right? So the third oath is a sex on the beach, which I love as a pun, because the third oath of the esoteric order of Dagon is impregnation by one of the deep ones. So it's literally sex on the beach. Like, that's what it is. The other half are the bonkers creations you get when you try to lock me in the house for a year with nothing to do but drink. And then tell me that I can expense the bar tab because it's research. Okay, this is why my liver has a credit in the book.
You're telling your tax guy, this book is the reason why I have the write-offs. Okay.
Yep. That's but all absolutely true. So.
That's a very enviable position to be in.
I've heard that. Yes, I've heard that. People just look at me when I tell them, like, "Oh, poor you." Yeah, something about lemons and lemonade.
Yeah. Well, Mike, it's all going really well for you right now. I really I want to wish you success, but I don't think you need it. The Necromunchicon's an amazing book, and it's going to do really well. I want to let everybody know that's listening, we have links to all this, including Red Duke Games in the bio, so check that out. You're going to want to look that up, and you can buy the Necromunchicon online through all major vendors and at all better bookstores. Mike, thanks for being on the podcast again. We've really loved having you back.
Dean, thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Wait. Hold on.
Sure.
That was my conversation with Mike Slater of Red Duke Games about their new book, The Necromunchicon. We're going to have links to that in the bio, as well as the other books, and also their rum. So check that out. Next week, we're going to be talking with Jacqueline Chiolori about her brand new book. It's going to be coming out the following week, We Cook Filipino. I love my conversation with Jacqueline. She's a great person to talk to. I had a really good time talking to her about Filipino food and her story, and the story about the book too. A really great conversation next week, and season 13, episode 2. Wow, it's been 13 seasons. It's just such a joy. It's been gone by so fast, and I've really had a great time doing it. Until next week, I'm going to see you all at the library.